Welcome back to the Explainer. Okay, let's jump right into this because today we're tackling a mystery that has frustrated basically anyone who has ever lived in a house or an apartment. I'm talking about that deeply annoying, completely soul-crushing phenomenon, the returning drain clog. You know the exact scenario, right? Your sink stops draining, you roll up your sleeves, you get your unwanted weekend plunging workout in, the water finally whooshes down, and you claim a well-earned victory. But then, maybe a couple of weeks later, you're standing in an inch of murky water all over again. The clog came back. Well, today we are figuring out why these persistent blockages are actually a blinnering warning signal from deep within your plumbing system. So, that brings us to the ultimate pull your hair out question. Why did it come back? It is so incredibly tempting to just assume, maybe you didn't plunge hard enough the first time, or maybe someone washed a whole bunch of hair down the drain right after you fixed it. We really tend to think of clogs as these isolated one-off events. But when a backup returns over and over again, you've got to shift your thinking. Our source material today reveals that plumbing professionals absolutely do not view these recurring stoppages as random bad luck. Instead, they treat them as a very specific, very telling symptom. And here is the real kicker. Persistent clogs point far beyond your sink or your shower trap. They point to the pathway much farther downstream. When you fix a drain and it clogs again shortly after, the actual blockage is likely not right beneath your sink at all. The wastewater route as a whole is failing to clear consistently. Basically, you're pouring water into a system that's fundamentally compromised somewhere deep, deep out of sight. Think of a standard local clog as a minor fender bender in your driveway. It's caused by everyday debris. We're talking hair in the shower drain, soap residue, maybe some grease trapped right there in the kitchen P-trap. It's localized, it's predictable. But a mainline issue? Oh man, that is a system-wide traffic jam. The signs here are intermittent issues, backups that keep returning time and time again, and situations where you might get a little bit of partial flow only to have it stop up completely all over again. If you're experiencing that, you aren't just dealing with a simple hairy drain. To really grasp what's going wrong here, we have to take a little trip underground to the main sewer line. This is the primary pipe that carries wastewater from your entire home directly out to the municipal system or to your septic system. It is literally the single highway out of town for all the water leaving your house. When a blockage happens here, it honestly doesn't matter how perfectly clean your upstairs bathroom sink trap is. If the highway is blocked, the traffic is going to back up all the way into your house. Okay, let's play detective for a second. What are the common underground culprits actually causing these massive jams? Well, tree roots are a surprisingly aggressive one. They literally seek out tiny cracks in pipes and gradually expand inside them over time, which is wild when you think about it. Then you have sediment and mineral buildup, which slowly chokes the pipe narrower and narrower, adding grease and non-dissolving materials forming these thick, nasty layers of sludge. And finally, you have the physical state of the pipe itself, things like pipe misalignment or just broadly aging infrastructure. Any single one of these can turn a wide-open pipe into a tiny bottleneck. What's truly fascinating is how these culprits break down into two distinct categories. On one hand, we have natural and structural causes. You really can't control tree roots invading, or pipes aging, or the earth shifting to cause pipe misalignment. It just happens. But on the other hand, we have human error, and this is entirely in our control. Flushing non-dissolving materials, pouring grease down the sink, forcing thick food waste into the plumbing. When our everyday habits meet those underlying structural issues, you get the perfect recipe for a returning clog. Which brings us to the mechanics of the fake fix. Why does plunging seem to work for, say, a few days? Well, because you might just be punching a tiny temporary hole through a massive layer of sludge. Low spots and sludge layers trap debris, causing water to back up again even after partial flow is restored. The water starts moving and you think, hey, I won. But that underlying obstruction, it's still there. It's totally intact. It just reasserts itself as soon as you heavily use the plumbing again, or when environmental conditions change, like right after a heavy rainfall. So what is your immediate action plan while you wait for a professional? First, instantly stop flushing anything that doesn't dissolve, and absolutely ban grease and thick food waste from your drains. Just don't do it. Next, you need to step away from the chemical drain cleaners. And finally, start keeping a detailed log of your backups to speed up the eventual diagnosis. Let's expand on that middle point for a moment, because I know it goes against all our homeowner instincts. Stepping away from the chemical drain cleaners is absolutely vital. When a drain is slow, the first thing many of us do is run to the store and buy the strongest chemical cleaner we can find. But frequent use of these harsh liquids can actually damage your plumbing and complicate future repairs. Think about it. If your issue is an intruding tree root, a chemical cleaner isn't going to fix it. It's just going to sit there in your pipes, potentially corroding the aging infrastructure. You're treating the symptom while making the underlying disease much, much worse. Now, if you want to be a hero when the plumber arrives, be a proactive record keeper. Note the exact dates and locations of the backups. Write down what clearing methods you've already tried. Keep track of whether the backup happens after heavy rainfall or maybe it triggers when you run a heavy appliance like the washing machine. And definitely don't ignore the early signs. Note any slow drains, those spooky gurgling sounds, or foul odors. All of these clues help a professional instantly determine if the problem is just in a branch line or all the way down in the main sewer line. And listen, that brings us to a critical warning about the stakes here. If a backup returns from a month-old situation or clears and quickly clogs again, do not wait. Delaying an inspection allows those underlying problems, like the expanding roots or the sludge buildup, to severely worsen. And that can literally cost you thousands of dollars in devastating indoor water damage. Nobody wants that. The good news? Professionals don't have to guess anymore. They run these high-tech video cameras right down the pipe to identify the exact location and nature of the blockage. It is a total game changer. Our source material anchors this entire issue with one really powerful takeaway. Repeated clogs are rarely random, and they often indicate the wastewater route as a whole needs attention. I love this because it perfectly validates the frustration of the homeowner. You aren't crazy, and you aren't bad at plunging sinks. The plumbing is just trying to tell you something very, very important about the health of your entire home's infrastructure. Which leaves us with one final question for your own home. Are you treating the symptom or fixing the source? Pouring chemicals and plunging the exact same drain week after week? That's just treating the symptom. Recognizing that you have an intermittent, reoccurring mainline issue and getting a camera inspection to see the real underground culprit, that is fixing the source. So next time that stubborn clog comes back, you'll know exactly what it means. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep asking the right questions.